Andrew Lockwood here. It's July. It's time to take a look again at the supply chain, see what's going on in the world. Before we get into it, if you will, subscribe at the bottom. You need these updates every month. It's free knowledge, and it only takes a few minutes. I can get you up to speed quicker than you can on your own, so let's jump into it. All right, let's take a look at the domestic trucking side of the industry. Rates are still pretty serene. I mean, this is what we've seen really since March. Again, it's a supply and demand equation. There's still too much supply, and some of that's still got to exit. My prediction is we're going to see some of that exit over the next couple of months. These are smaller carriers. I think it's a great time for M&A opportunity if they don't exit altogether. We still see tender rejects really, way far down, 3-4% range. Diesel is way down, especially from a year ago. That's a great sign, especially if you're an asset-based carrier. I do want to make mention of the parcel situations. The interesting deadline here, July 31st. That's the date in which the current agreement between the UPS and Teamsters run out. And there's a lot of hot rhetoric here. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm using the AI chatbots to try to determine that for myself. But what we do know is UPS is estimated to handle about 3% of global GDP, 6% here in the U.S. They're only going to be able to handle a fraction of the current volume if that does happen. Chaos could ensue. The White House is interested in trying to get involved. So there's a lot of different dynamics there. I think that is number one news story to continue to stay tuned to here over the next 2 weeks to see how that plays out. All right, taking a look at capacity and volume. We mentioned that a minute ago. Volume is still actually kind of below pre-COVID levels based on this data from the Fed. The number of employees in truck transportation, interestingly, is kind of still going up. And we're seeing the warehouse side go down. We'll take a look at that graph here in a minute. But again, the big headline here is it's supply and demand. We need some supply to exit because the demand is not there right now to support what's in the industry. All right, let's take a look at the ocean. I'm taking a slightly different view of this. If you're wondering, HH, that's head haul, BH is back haul. So that you can look at the two different rates in inverse there. The big story on the ocean front again is there's just not a ton of volume to boost up rates. In fact, it could be a bloodbath. It may challenge some of the existing alliances. There was a great write-up FreightWaves did about has peak season already hit, and I think that from the data that I'm seeing, I think that's absolutely true. It's kind of pulled up 2 months from what it traditionally has been. TEUs are still maybe a little bit more than 2019 and 2020, but less than what we've seen in the past 2 years. One quick call out again, there's some labor strife going on west coast of Canada. That's a smaller story to stay tuned to, but what it could do is result in some east coast opportunity as that strife goes on. All right, I did have a special request. Andrew, you got to add rail, you got to add air. I need my updates too. Got it, heard it loud and clear. So let's dig into the rail side. Again, kind of a fixed network. I wanted to look at total number of rail cars. You can see that decline, especially since pre-COVID. Very similar in some ways to the trucking industry. I mean, again, they're a lower cost alternative. Those tender rejects for both outbound LA and Chicago are way down, which tells me, again, it's a very similar story as the trucking market. There's more capacity than there is volume to drive that, which is suppressing rates. All right. On the air front, man, these rates have come crashing down over the past year or so after we saw that spike in early 2022. Again, remember, who's using air? Well, these are time-sensitive, smaller, high-value type commodities for the most part. Anytime you've got capacity in lower-cost modes, if you're willing to give up on some of the time sensitivity standpoint, that's always going to be the play. So we're seeing rates come way back down. They're almost to 2020 levels, not quite, still a little bit above that in those three specific lanes shown on the graph. But again, something to consider, especially when you're running your supply chain or thinking about air freight options. On the warehousing front, interesting graph when it comes to construction that's completed and forecasted. The next 5 years looks to be very similar in terms of total number of square feet they're going to be in the works. I did mention the labor side. You see the slight decline in the Fed data over the past few months. So we're seeing a little bit of leaning out of warehousing operations altogether. All right, I love this market by market map because it changes so much month to month. National vacancy rates, again, it's been around 3.9, 4%. We're right around that 4.3% as of the last run. Commercial Edge does a great job putting this together, by the way. Here are the two big call-outs I'm going to get from this. SoCal is such a tough market to operate in. It's strategic from a location standpoint. It's right next to the two major ports there in Long Beach and Los Angeles. But here's the deal. If you have an existing lease coming up, oh, buddy, it's going to hurt. Look at that graph on the right. $8.10 difference from average in-place rent to what has been signed from an average standpoint over the past 12 months. So there is a lot of hurt to the wallet there if you're operating in SoCal, especially in the Inland Empire. Where's the bargain? Man, I go back to Texas. Dallas and Houston are the best spots to be. Why? Houston, close to a port that's underutilized in my opinion. Dallas, middle of the U.S. I like their average rent in comparison to other markets. Also like the vacancy rates. I think they're two underutilized markets that not enough companies are looking at, in my opinion. All right, and then I love these supply chain indices. I think it's something to keep in mind. Everything from the Cass Freight Index, which again is just showing relative shipment volume over time. Global Supply Chain Pressure Index, which is kind of entered negative territory since the beginning of the year. And then who has the power here in the from a condition standpoint? Is the shipper? Is the carrier? And it's still very much a shipper's market overall. So that is your supply chain update for July. I hope you've enjoyed. Again, I would love your comments, your questions. If there's something that I haven't covered that I should, let me know. I'm glad to add it. Until next month, Andrew Lockwood, and this is your supply chain update. See ya.